Cloud. Okay. Well, once again, welcome to Center College's webinar. This one is about international student success. And this is a panel discussion of staff members at Center who support international students and the resources that they offer to help you succeed as a student, as an individual here at Center. And we wanted to share some of these resources with you and introduce you to the very people who make these things happen. So I have a couple of wonderful folks here with me today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So before all of that, you all know who I am. My name is Joy Joy. I am the Associate Director of International Recruitment here at Center, and congratulations on your admission. To the students who are joining us and their families who are here, welcome to Center's webinar. So to begin our introduction, I'm going to pop it over to Pam Boffman.
Thank you, Joy Joy. It's so nice to be with you today. Congratulations to you all. It's a very exciting time for you and your families. So I am a Center alum and have served at Center many years. And currently I have the pleasure to serve as the Vice President for Student Success and Advancement. And I work with an amazing team on campus, and I'm excited for you to meet a number of the good people today. And I'm going to kick it over to Karen Tubb. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. It's good to meet all of you. I'm glad you're here. My name is Karen Tubb. I work in the Center Learning Commons, which is located in the library. We're here to provide academic support. And I also work with Pam as one of the student success coaches, and I will pass it over to Jessica.
Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Jessica Leonard, and I am the Assistant Director in Center Global, working with international students, so our inbound students, you guys, and we're happy to meet you. I will be kind of your immigration person, basically from the time you are admitted all the way through, and sometimes a little bit after your graduation with Center. So happy to meet you. And I'll pass it to Anne.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, I'm Anne Goodwin. I'm really excited to see you all today. And congratulations, as you've heard several times. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Wellbeing. And so my office is in the Office of Student Life. So those are that's overseeing all of the things outside of the classroom, as this is a residential campus and you'll be living here and making friends here and hopefully having fun here too. So my specific job is overseeing the Office of Counseling and Health Promotion. So trying to make sure that while you're here, you're learning healthy habits and you're being your best version of yourself. And I think I'm the last person, so I'll bounce it back to Joy Joy.
Thank you, everybody, for the introductions. Now that we all know who we are, kind of, I'm going to get started. I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. And the one thing that I'll note is, like I said before, this is a panel discussion, so I'll be asking the panel some questions. And after the panel discussion, we'll have about 15 to 20 minutes for you to ask questions to these amazing folks about the resources that are offered here at Center. So we'll have that time set aside. So with that, we'll get started. So a little bit about, resources and services. It is important for us to take care of you when you get here to campus, because we want you to be successful, not only in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. We want you to grow in a lot of different ways. So we want to take care of you. That's the main takeaway from this slide, even if you look at all the bullet points. And what all these bullet points are some of the resources and support system that we offer to students here. And Pam and Jessica and Karen will be talking about all of these in details, some of these things in detail. So this is just for you to get a snapshot of what we're able to offer to our international students here. So now, starting with student success, this is where Pam comes in, Pam and her team. So Pam, could you please share with us a little bit about the student success team that you lead here at Center and how it is designed to help Center students?
Sure, thank you. So, as mentioned, all of the good people on this call play a critical role. And in addition to the team, and you're going to hear more from them, we do have some additional individuals who represent and really focus on success in some key areas, such as first generation support. We have a first gen office with 3 individuals who are very focused on making sure first gen students feel connected, informed, well supported, and really encouraged to, as I'll take Anne's line, be the best version of themselves. And we also have someone who is very focused on helping our student athletes. They have specific initiatives that they have to think about. There's some eligibility things that go along with their athletic sports. And so Katie Patton does a great job of making sure they're very focused on balancing academics and athletics along with their personal development as citizens and community members here. The other thing I'll mention is Ashley Hinton does an amazing job with programming and really enlightening students about healthy habits through a lot of health and wellness promotions and programming. And then we also have lot of communication, and we coordinate with Rachel Gauss from our ODI office. We're making sure that diversity, equity, inclusion is foundational in all that we're doing, and so that we communicate and work together. And Anne Young, I think maybe Anne Goodwin might mention Anne in her comments, but Anne Young is a longtime center person, very knowledgeable, and she is very focused on wellness and just attending to students' needs and making sure that they have the support they need. For instance, if someone doesn't know where to get an eye appointment, or if they need to be connected with resources in town. Anne is just incredibly knowledgeable. So she's always out on campus and is a wonderful resource. Jessica Chisley is also a part of our team, and we work closely with a number of our faculty and staff who are mentors in various programs on campus. So we want to make sure we're all collaborating and we are sharing resources, informing students, and passing along what we're all learning from our respective areas so that we can become a very well-coordinated and well-oiled machine to serve our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That was helpful. And I think you and your team does a lot of work, especially with coordinating across campuses to help individual students. And here at Center, we're all about personal education, a very personalized education for students. So my other question for you is, how does Center provide personalized support for students that perhaps go beyond what students could expect to see at a higher education institution?
Great. I think this begins at the admission phase. So what I know of the way Joy and your team operates, it's very important to really connect with students as they are exploring admission opportunities and connecting with Center and learning about our community. And then that's a two-way street, because we want to really learn about what motivates students, what their passions are, what their college ambitions are, and how we can support them as they move forward. We'll have a really well-crafted communication plan for our students and families over the summer so that we can help prepare students for what's coming. And that would lead into orientation. We do a first-year orientation for a few days. Jessica will talk a little bit, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about orientation for international students a little bit later. But one of the ways we start building connections on campus is through our Finding Your Center course. It is called FYC, and all first-year students take this. It is an extension of orientation, and we really focus on building connections, good habit forming, academic preparation, wellness. But through that group, students get assigned an FYC instructor who works in conjunction with their primary faculty academic advisor. They also get a student mentor, and then they're assigned a librarian as well on campus. So we start off with a very close-knit, well-informed, intentional team. And so I believe the mentorship starts there, and we are, as a teaching institution, highly accessible. So students can walk in as first-year students and talk to the pre-med advisor, the engineering advisor. They can walk into Center Global to explore study abroad and how they'll incorporate that in their four-year plan. So I think accessibility and removing barriers so students can make the most out of their four-year experience is really important and vital to preparing students to have a really robust and fulfilling 4 years at Center, but be prepared to go and do whatever they desire to do once they leave.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, no, that's very insightful, and we all know that Center has a lot of resources to support students, and I think it is important for students to be aware of, the resources that are available, but how to also go about that. So I think you mentioning that students can go to all these different folks as soon as their first year, I think that was helpful. But of course, in order for students to be able to utilize these things, they have to get here. And this is where Jessica comes in. And this is where Jessica and International Student Services come in. So for Jessica, could you talk to us a little bit about your role and how you support international students during their time here at Center?
Sure, thanks, Joy. So my first interaction with our incoming students will be once you have deposited or have your deposit waived to become an admitted student. So there's kind of a transition from the admissions over to becoming an enrolled student at Center. I am the person that sends you the emails about issuing you your I-20, which you'll use to get your F1 visa. Throughout the summer, we'll have a lot of communication, so make sure that you are checking your email. At first, we will be sending a lot of communication to your personal email, but then eventually to just your Center email. So it's really important to, over the summer, to make that transition to check your Center email often, since that is our official communication lines. We do require all of our new international students to attend an international student orientation that takes place right before first year orientation. The only exception to this would be sometimes our fall student athletes or our Lincoln scholars. They might have another onboarding process where they kind of start first with their team or with their Lincoln cohort to do that onboarding, and then blend into first year orientation. But international student orientation, it's very focused on making sure first that you're caught up in any vaccines that you might have, and making sure that your physical health is kind of on par with what we're expecting for our admitted students. That keeps not only you, but also the whole community safe, right? To make sure that you're have all of your required vaccines. We also help you to set up a US cell phone or a US bank account. And then of course, introduce you to the campus. Many students have not been able to do a tour of campus. So we begin to introduce you not only to the buildings, the classrooms, but even some of the faculty and staff that are here, so that you get to know, okay, who is the person that I've been emailing over the summer, kind of making sure that you meet them face to face. So that way you can have those personal connections throughout your time here at Center. And then, of course, as listed on the slide, there are a number of things that we also help you with throughout your first year, all the way through your graduating time, and even beyond if you're going to choose to go on to grad school or go on to perhaps authorized employment in the U.S.
Thank you, Jessica. That was a comprehensive overview of the kind of support that you provide to international students. And I can tell from what I'm hearing from international students that, Jessica is their firefighter. She's there to put out your fires. But Jessica, thank you for sharing all of that. And I know you also mentioned a couple of things about the process of bringing international students on campus. So starting with issuing I-20, but also Jessica and I will have a transition meeting with all of the enrolled students sometime this month and next month, where we transition you from admission to international student services. And that's where we will talk about the visa application process and how you need to start preparing for your summer preparations. And Jessica, I know you mentioned a little bit about international student orientation, and that obviously is important for international students get acclimated to campus before you start classes, because depending on where you're coming from, you might have to beat jet lag, or if you don't believe jet lag is a thing, that's great. But we wanted you to have a little bit more time before you begin all the other things. So that's why international students typically arrive a little earlier, right, Jessica? So great. And Jessica, I know you sort of answered this question as well, about the transition, the visa application process and student orientation. But is there anything else that you want to add about some of the resources that you offer?
I think it's really important that even before you arrive on campus, you will be paired with an international student orientation leader, as well as a first-year mentor. And then, of course, when you reach campus, you'll be able to meet your resident assistants. So these are peer mentors. And I think that's really important that you realize that you will be connected to other students who have gone through the same process. They may be other international students, sophomore, junior, seniors, or they could be domestic students, US students who have also kind of transitioned from high school to college. It's really valuable to connect with these students who they have lived that experience, right? They have also successfully made that transition. So it's really important for you to connect with your peers to kind of get their insights and to learn with them.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica, for mentioning International Student Orientation Leader, or ISOLs, and student first-year mentors, or FYMs. Lots of acronyms. Thank you for sharing all of that, Jessica. Now, once you get here, you're here to learn. So academics are important, and we want to make sure that you also have academic support. So that's the next thing that we'll be talking about, which is academic support. There are a lot of academic resources to help you be a successful student. And this is where Karen and some of her colleagues come in. So Karen, what are some of the academic support and resources available to international students, and how can they access these resources here at Center?
So we have lots of, just like Jessica was mentioning, you all, with international student orientation leaders and your first-year mentors, we have other programs specifically designed for the academic side. So we have ESL consultations, which you can do with me. So if you're feeling just a little bit frustrated with your courses, not sure what you're struggling with, you can meet with me, and we'll sort of pinpoint areas that maybe we can help you find strategies for being a more effective student. We also have ESL peer mentors, just like Jessica was mentioning, older students that have gone through what you've gone through, that have adapted and figured out strategies for being better and more effective students, particularly since to some degree you have some disadvantages, right? Your English is not going to be at the same level as maybe a native speaker. Now, maybe it is, but for those students that feel like I need help with that, we have students, I'm here, but we also have students that you can opt in and work with and meet with maybe once a week to figure out, hey, I'm preparing for an oral presentation. What are some things that you can help me with to help me move past maybe the fear that I have speaking in English in front of a group of people, for example. We also have lots of other services available through the Learning Commons, which I'm assuming we're going to talk about in a minute. So I'm going to let Joy-John ask that question.
You're right on the spot there, Karen. So yes, my next question was going to be about the Center Learning Commons and how students can utilize the resources that are offered through what we call CLCs.
Yes, the CLC. So I am the assistant director of the Center Learning Commons. So in addition to helping international and ESL students with their transition coming to campus, we also have academic support in terms of peer tutors. So say, for example, you're struggling with your math course or your data science course or your chemistry course. We have tutors that are available in our building, but also in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. So in different locations on campus. We also have accessibility services. So if you're coming to campus and you have a learning disability, we can help work with you to communicate to your professors what accommodations you might need. All of these things, all the services that I've mentioned can be accessed through a student app called Navigate. And that app allows you to make appointments with the different services on campus, not just our office, but various offices. You can access your course schedule and connect with information about resources on campus. So that app, you'll be hearing more about it, and I'll be working with Jessica when you all get here, sort of introduce you to how that app works and how to take advantage of everything it offers.
Thank you, Karen, for mentioning Navigate, but all the other resources that are offered here. And of course, when you get here, you will be challenged in the classroom. So I think these resources will be there just to help you succeed in classes and do well as a student, because we want you to succeed. Now, going from academics, we also want you to be healthy, both emotionally and physically. And this is where Anne and her team comes in. And this is where we talk about health and wellness. So these two things have been an important part of students' overall success and well-being here at Center. And especially during the pandemic, I think these are some of our top priorities and making sure that students are doing well. And many of the resources and the investment Center has made reflect a lot of that. So turning to you, Anne, what kind of health and wellness resources are available to Center students, and how are we taking care of our students?
Thank you, Joy. If you talk to me, you know that I love to talk about this. I also am really proud of the resources we have on campus. This is a small college, and for our size, our supports are really robust. We have a lot of things in place to support you, and that's a reflection of the college's values. It's even one of our strategic priorities. So if you get bored and you look up Center College Strategic Plan, you'll see that wellness is included there because it's important to the whole campus. There's a variety of types of resources that I wanted to share with you all. First of all, starting with the most basic needs, there's a free health clinic on campus, and this is going to be different depending on where you're coming from. Healthcare and health support services are very different in different countries, but on campus here, we do have a health clinic, which you can make an appointment and see somebody that day or the following day for your basic things, like if you're feeling sick, if you're not sure what's going on, if you have the flu, you can go there, you can meet with a nurse, or sometimes with a doctor or with a nurse, a doctor's assistant, and get the medicine that you need for the basic things. And sometimes you're going to need, hopefully not, but occasionally somebody has more complicated needs. And then we have resources in the community. Hopefully you would never need the hospital, but it is a block away if there were some type of emergencies. And I just wanted to say before I stop talking about the health services that I know I'm biased because I work next door to these folks, but really if I were sending my daughter to a health provider, I would want to send them to these people. They're incredibly kind. They've been working with college students for a long time, and they want to figure out how to help remove any barriers to helping you feel better. And that's Kathy Jones is one of the kindest people on campus, and she's the director. And Amanda and Sharon are the medical providers that you'll see, and then Marcia runs the office. And they're just great resources. We also have free mental health counseling. So that's for counselors who are there, they're therapists, and are free to you. They don't charge any insurance. And most important to know is it's completely confidential. So sometimes this is the law. Sometimes laws are different in different countries, but I just wanted you to know that that your faculty can't know that you're coming to counseling unless you choose to tell them. We have laws in place that protect your confidentiality. Joy wouldn't know, Jessica wouldn't know, nobody on this call would know that you were using this service. And it's a very popular service on campus. Last year, about 27% of our student body used this service. So out of 4 students, at least 1 went in just last year. And through the counseling office, we have an international student support group. We really are we work with Jessica and try to make our services as accessible as possible, especially for our international students. Who maybe this wasn't, depending on where people are from, it wasn't always this accessible of a resource. And so the International Student Support Group, sometimes it's support groups, like in a traditional sense of people sitting in a room talking, but it's also been hikes or a tea, or having traditional snacks, or just kind of listening to what international students need. And then I also wanted to mention this, although Pam mentioned it before, but we have a newer office, it's the Office of Health Promotion. And what that's trying to do is for folks who maybe aren't going to go to counseling, it's trying to make well-being resources available in the community. So there's activities like we had yoga on the football field at sunset, which was really cool. We had like 50 or 60 people at that. We're having a financial wellness fair this month, I guess it's April. And that's going to be kind of cool where you can learn all kinds of budgeting things. We've had weekly hikes and lots of outdoor programmings this year. There was a skiing trip, and I think we had a lot of international students participate in the skiing trip. And then also we've been trying to make wellness spaces in residence halls. So right now we have 3. I think we're going to have a new one for next year, but one's a weight workout space where you can do weights and things like that. Another one's a yoga or meditation space. These are in the residence hall, so you don't even have to go across campus to access this. And then we have a sensory room for folks who have our sensitivities around or like overstimulated. And next year we're hoping that we're going to have a creative wellness space where you can do art, like painting or maybe knitting or crocheting, and have just some spaces to feel okay. And then there are the typical athletic and recreation facilities. We have a really great new pool. It's opening soon. We have an indoor track. I guess we'll have 2 indoor tracks soon, racquetball, weights and ellipticals and treadmills and all of that kind of stuff, if that's the things that you're interested in. And I didn't want to leave out these 2 last little parts, and I'll stop talking, Joy. I'm sorry for taking up so much space, but we also have an Office of Religious Life that tries to support spiritual wellness, and it's really committed to diversity and making sure that also the community learns and understands the different religious experiences and faiths that people have on campus. And you can get more about that on the website. And then, as Pam mentioned, we also have a staff person, Ann Young, who helps students finding resources and trying to make sure that trying to minimize the financial barriers that a student is experiencing. So if there's something that's getting in your way, she's a great person to start, especially if you're not sure who to talk to on campus.
No, that's wonderful, and I think, as Anne said, you'll notice that there are obviously a lot of resources, not just for your physical health, but also for your mental health, well-being, spirituality, and when we say wellness, it goes beyond just physical health. And Anne, I think you mentioned a couple of resources to help students overcome challenges. And this is a very specific question for international students. So for international students, they're obviously studying away from their home countries and their families. And oftentimes they're living in a very different type of different culture, learning in a new language environment, and adjusting to the new lifestyle of being in college. How can they utilize these resources you just mentioned to overcome these challenges and take care of their own well-being?
Yeah, thanks, Joy. Yeah, we actually think about this a lot, right? Jessica, this is a conversation we have every year, I think, of trying to figure out how to make it accessible, especially for international students. And the first thing that I would say is to use the resources, which seems obvious, but if you went to a school where you didn't have these kinds of resources, or the resources weren't necessarily for you because you were doing well academically, or you didn't feel like they were for you, this can feel very different to use the resources. So one time during International Student Orientation, we had the International Student Orientation leaders, who are all like juniors and seniors. We asked them, how many of you have gone to office hours? And every single one raised their hand. So it's just a different culture as far as using the resources. And remember that it's part of the whole experience to be able to, and you will do your best work and be your best self if you use the resources that are here. And so we try very hard to make them easily accessible. So for example, if you wanted to schedule a counseling appointment, you could just email counseling@center.edu and we'd send you an email that day. And if your afternoon was free, we could have you seen that day. Or you could go on our portal and look at what appointments are available over the next 3 days with which counselors and pick which one you want to use. So we try our best to make these accessible. That's also why we had like the wellness spaces in the residence hall. And once you get here, there are support people all over the place. You've met some of our folks today. You've heard about people who are going to be supporting you. There's your international student orientation leader. You'll have an RA who lives in your hall who will also be able to help you connect to resources. You'll have a first-year mentor, so somebody who goes to your Find Your Center course with you throughout the year. This is another student. Your professors will know how to connect you to resources. Your advisor will help you know how to connect to resources. Basically, this whole team of people who kind of wrap around and try to lift you up and help you move forward are going to be able to help you access this. We'll meet you during orientation. We meet you during international student orientation, and then later during the whole campus orientation. You'll get information sent to you over the summer. But also we have the online or the app, I guess, Navigate that Karen referenced, and there's a lot of information in there and you can ask for more information. And we also have a website. So if you want to, sometimes I like to look at a website before I start asking questions, you can do there. So I guess the last thing that I would say before I stop talking is one, you are clearly an adventurous person because you're ready to go and do college abroad. And so I appreciate that about you. I've done smaller chunks of time abroad and know this is a big adventure you're heading out on. But once you're here too, don't forget that that's in you and try new things. So try counseling, even if it's something you've never tried or thought of trying before, or try using the Center for Teaching and Learn or the Center Learning Commons. Try to use these things that maybe feel different. Because that might be cultural differences about using that. And it may be that you go and it's not that helpful and you don't need it, but it may be that it's something that will really let you thrive while you're at campus. So doing new things and then checking in on yourself. Pay attention. If as soon as things start to feel off or you're having a hard time, just remember there's so much support here for you and we want to help you. We chose these jobs. And so just do what you can to ask for the support you need as early as possible so that things don't progress too far. If they progress, still ask for help, but we encourage you to ask early.
No, that's very helpful advice, Anne, and I appreciate you for sharing all of that. So students can be taken care of inside the classroom, physical health, mental health, and everything and anything in between. So thank you for sharing that. That sort of concludes the formal panel discussion part of it. But before I open up the floor for questions, does any of the panelists have any last thoughts about anything?
I just wanted to add in something to something that what Anne was saying. When you think of accessing these resources, right? If you try an apple for the first time and you don't like apples, that doesn't mean you don't like all fruit, right? So sometimes you're going to have to try again or go a different way. And all of these resources are here to help you find those strategies, right, that work for you. So we're always about supporting you and making sure that your development, yes, your academics, but also your well-being can be best prioritized and like geared for you. So definitely, you know, if the first thing you try doesn't work, there's something else for you. And we're going to help you to find that here at Center.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful advice, Jessica, because oftentimes students are juggling a lot of different things. And at times you might forget to prioritize one thing or neglect some other areas of your life because you're really trying to be successful in class. So I think all of these, we're all about balance here. We want students to be centered. No pun intended, but a little bit maybe. So that is helpful advice. Anybody else before we open up the floor for questions?
I just wanted to highlight in case anyone missed what was in the chat that I'm sorry that I left that out, Jessica, but there is a really great app that's available through the Insurance for International Students, and it's got lots of supports, but one of my favorites is that it has resources in a lot of languages. So sometimes, especially early on, that might feel more comfortable. We always are happy to and wanting to see international students, of course, in the office as well, but I just wanted to highlight that resource. Thanks, Jessica.
If there's nothing else from the panelists, this concludes the formal part of the panel discussion. And I am going to stop recording. And then